5, 6 minutes for his fantastic speech and by explaining who he is, what he did, and to bring Toastmasters to a new level. So Jerry, thank you very much for that. I would like to, a couple of months ago, I was listening to I was watching actually Larry King with one of his last shows. And it was in the moment that the uprising in the north of Africa was going on. So in Egypt, in Tunisia, there were a lot of problems going on. And I was ready to listen to all the problems they are facing in North Africa at that moment. But Larry King, he started it by a story how he met his wife. And he was explaining that he was crazy about a certain girl who was working in his team, but she didn't want to date with him. So he sent her for weeks after each other, every day, beautiful, fresh flowers. And in the end, because he was so persistent, she finally went with him on a date, and now they are happily, or at least they were happily married. But it is funny to see that when there is something major going on in the world, where it's not about the problems in North Africa, or maybe poverty, or criminality, it's about love. And flowers can lead to love. I will explain a little bit who I am. My name is Ferenc, for the guys who don't know me. I'm actually originally from the Netherlands. I worked for years, actually for 8 years. First at a bank, later at a stockbroker. First on the back office, later as a stock trader. And after the 9/11 attacks, my company, I worked for a Belgian bank. My advice, never work for Belgians, but okay. They closed the office in Amsterdam, and at that moment I had no work, and that was about 8-9 years ago. One of my best friends, he started 13-14 years ago a company in Ecuador to produce cut flowers, and he said, the company is growing, do you want to join me? I said, that's okay. So 10 days later, it is really strange because I lived my 30 years, I lived in Amsterdam and the Netherlands, and then I took a plane 10 days later, and I just have been back maybe 10 times at the moment. So my life shifted it, and I want to talk today a little bit about the flower industry. Jerry, I'm not sure if you can pull up the website. I work for a company. What we do is we are market leaders in the breeding and also in the production of calla lilies. Calla lilies, I will show you, if Jerry is quick, I will show you what a calla lily is. What do we do? In Holland, we do breeding of flowers. What does breeding means? That means the art and science of creating new varieties of flowers, especially in our case, calla lilies. How does it work? Now, actually, you take a part of the male, so sperm of the male flower, and you cross it with a part of the female, and then you create, or you can create, new varieties. It is a little bit, if you cross an Afro-American with a Caucasian, you get a Latino. And that is also how it works with crossing flowers, or with breeding flowers. Because you cross, for example, a red flower with a yellow flower, and then the probability that you get something orange. Although it's a quite technical process, what my colleagues do in the Netherlands. After they have a certain variety that they say, hey, this is maybe interesting, they send a small little bulb. They send it to China, India, to get tissueculture on a bigger scale. So we let the Chinese and the Indians, we let them make a lot of tissueculture for us, that is like material to produce plants. After that, we fly it from India or from China, we fly it to Ecuador. We're based in Ecuador. And in Ecuador, the process will be as follows. We have a small tissueculture. 1 year later, if you put it in the ground, you have a small bulb. Another year later, you have a big bulb, and that big bulb you put finally in the ground, and 3 months later you cut your flowers. What do we do then? We harvest the flowers. We have about 350, at this moment 450, but when I was there were still 350 workers. They harvest the flowers, they bring it to the post-harvest, there we process the flowers, we make bunches of it, we put a UPC label on it, we put it in the cooler, and there, our driver in a refrigerated truck, he brings it to the airport in Quito. And from the airport in Quito, it goes on Lanchile, it goes on different airplanes who are flying to Miami. This is, let's say, the Miami area is the hub. Okay, here you can see some of the flowers. I will talk a little bit more about that. So Miami is the hub of all the incoming cut flowers of the North America. In Colombia, Ecuador, they estimate 65% of the cut flowers in the US are coming from Colombia and Ecuador. Around 15% is coming from California, 10% is coming from Holland, and the rest is coming from other countries like Thailand, a little bit of New Zealand. Why did we go to Ecuador? What is the main reason? Because we were a company, of my friend was a company in Holland. The main reasons are actually 4 reasons. The first one is we went to Ecuador because of cheap labor, which is of course very important. Second one is because Ecuador is on the equator, you have year-round the same temperature, around the same temperature. So you can produce flowers instead of in Holland or instead in the United States, that you only can produce flowers a certain period of the year. So we can produce year-round the same quality flowers, which is nice if you deal with supermarkets, because they don't want to deal 2 months out of the year with this vendor, 2 months that vendor, 2 months with that vendor. They prefer to have a stable vendor year-round. The third reason is because of Ecuador is quite a high country with a lot of mountains, so you can decide which altitude is very well for your flowers. So you can say, hey, this type of flower for roses, I have to be at a higher altitude or a lower altitude. We think for growing calla lilies, Ecuador has a perfect climate. The fourth reason that we went to Ecuador is because there are a lot of existing rose growers or existing companies, so there is already an established logistics. So we don't have to invent the wheel. We just go what everyone already has done. We just bought a company, bought ground, built a company, started building flowers, growing flowers, and we just, the logistics to the United States, which is our sales market or our, was just easy because there were already a lot of established rose growers. What is the difference between, and I have to watch out what I'm saying, the difference between flowers out of Colombia, out of Ecuador, I would like to mention. In general, and especially about roses, they say Colombia has the mass market, so the supermarket, because in Ecuador, because of the altitude and the specific climate, you can get bigger head sizes. So it is more for traditional florists, for weddings, for a little bit the high-end segment. People buy more roses, especially in Ecuador. And the big volume, what you mostly see in supermarkets, and which absolutely are beautiful roses, you see them normally coming out of Colombia. The challenges, I think, for building a company, especially in Ecuador, is first of all, it's the language. It is how to deal with the culture. It is so completely different, and I will give you a funny sample. With my best Spanish, I spoke with one of the post-harvest managers, but the guys there are so busy with who is their boss, and we are used in Holland, you say what you think, and just speak out. And in Ecuador, they are a little bit shy and not empowered yet, and we try to empower our employees. One example, I was with the post-harvest manager, and I explained to him that it was better to work with the same groups with a certain type of flower. It was something simple. And then after a month, we were looking, with a friend of mine, we were looking at the over-hours people were making. There were a lot of over-hours, but we didn't have more production. So we were like, hey, what's going on? But then we went to this post-harvest manager, hey, where are those figures coming from? And then he said, yeah, but you said that they have always to work with the same team and the same flower. So these people, and we didn't know, they were already, because we work 7 days a week, and we normally work 5 days with 2 days off, but now they were working for 21 days in it without any break. So the people were getting tired, and they didn't want to work anymore, and they were getting more bored. Yeah, but we didn't know, because we come on Monday after our break in the weekends. Hello, buenos dias, ¿qué tal? But it is fun to see the cultural differences, because in Holland and also in the United States, you would say, hey, Saturday, Sunday is my day off, and I can help once in a while. But that was a big, I think that's a challenge. Another challenge is at this moment, okay, yeah, I will speed it up. The goals that we had a 10-15% market share of the calla lilies. At this moment we have between 50 and 60%. Why is that important? Because it pays my lifestyle. So, thank you very much.